Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. If you're just joining us, we've been discussing the upcoming elections in Wisconsin. There's the fall primary election coming up on August 11th, and the fall general election is on Tuesday, November 3rd. My next guest is on the ballot for the Wisconsin State Senate for Milwaukee's 6th Senate District. Michelle Bryant graduated from Jones Valley High School in Birmingham, Alabama, and she has a degree in Africology in political science from UW Milwaukee. I should also mention she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Michelle is a longtime political aide that has lived in the 6th Senate District for 15 years. How are you, Michelle?
I'm great. How are you, Andrea?
I'm doing very well. And first and foremost, I really want you to tell our viewers a little bit more about your background and what has inspired you to run for this seat.
So I am someone who has worked in politics off and on for 15 years in a couple of capacities. Most recently in the longest position is Chief of Staff with Wisconsin State Senator Lena Taylor. I also work in the other side of this arena, which is on the campaign side, having served as a political director for both Chris Abley, his re-election committee for county executive, gubernatorial candidate Mary Burke, and State Representative Lakeisha Myers. I ran her campaign, as well as running Senator Taylor's re-election campaign in 2016 when she ran against then State Representative Mandela Barnes. So this is some work that I have done for a long time. But, you know, I tell people I first got involved in politics at the age of 11. And I had a gentleman who was coming in our community handing out flyers, leaflets, and, you know, asking what he was doing and telling me about the fact that he was running for office. I said, explain that to me. What does that mean? And he said, you know, this is what I do. And I said, can I get a park? And he said, yeah, you know, if I get elected, I'll work to get you a park, but you got to help me. And so I didn't know at the time I was doing what we call doing doors today. And I started passing out leaflets and ended up getting this guy elected. And I tell people I have to tell the whole truth about it. He got elected. Years later, he went to jail. But somewhere in between there, I got my part. And I learned the brutal inside and out of politics, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly. The reason why I got into the race, I am somebody that has been happy to play the background in supportive roles. But I have worked in another district, in the 4th Senate District. And for a number of years, I've been concerned about my own. And so there were a series of things that just kind of pushed me towards getting in very late, quite frankly, into the race, but that it just didn't sit well with me. The idea that the city of Milwaukee had 5 polling locations when we traditionally have had 180, and that there was very little outcry or no outcry from the incumbent was problematic for me. The Strauss Deal, which was right in our backyard, 10 blocks from my home. And we weren't, as residents, being really told what the project entailed or what was going on. Very little guidance from the legislator that occupies the seat right now. COVID-19, learning that I actually lived in a hotspot, like literally lived in a hotspot, and that there had been no communication from elected officials, legislators, letting us know that we were a community in the line of fire. And I have known 6 people that have died from COVID. I just recently learned of a friend who lost their leg to COVID. And we remain in that line of fire. And so even though people will say these aren't typically legislative issues in terms of the state, all of it is interconnected. Being a state senator is more than just about enacting laws and policies. It is also how you disseminate information and empower your residents to advocate for themselves. And so what I have not seen is that degree of education, engagement, enlightenment, where people, if none of us are standing around, people are armed with the information they need to go and advocate and represent themselves.
Very interesting. And so, as you stated, you've been exposed to politics in a very interesting way from an early age. But since you brought up the Strauss deal at Century City, that deal ultimately was dropped, and the company had planned to build a $60 million facility right there at Capitol in Hopkins. And basically we kept hearing that it would have been at least 250 jobs. So you feel like, despite the fact that there were jobs involved or potential jobs involved, that there was a bigger picture that was more important in dealing with this deal?
So the first thing, and thank you for the opportunity to address this. The first thing is that there needed to be truth told about this project, which it was being misrepresented to the community. This is a company that is currently based in Franklin, Wisconsin. They were going to be relocating their facility from Franklin to the Century City site. They already have 160 employees. And so when the mayor and members of his administration were telling people this was a 250 job project that was coming to Milwaukee, they were not clear with people. In most cases, 160 of those jobs were already taken. And then if you factored in other ancillary positions, whether it was sales or production and other things that went on, that number kept getting smaller and smaller. The other thing, 60% of the people that would have been a part of that 160 folks transferring into the community, they already lived in Milwaukee. So this was never going to be 250 brand new jobs coming to the city of Milwaukee. 60% of their workforce already worked in the city of Milwaukee. So that was the first thing that was frustrating. And the other things were, and I got roasted on a couple of local talk radio shows about, well, how did you not know it was a meat processing plant and they were going to be killing animals? And, I had to educate a couple of people. Every meat processing plant does not have a slaughterhouse component to it. I remember what it was like to drive through the Menominee Valley and smell, the cattle being killed down in the valley, the rodents and the problems that come with that. And everyone has said Strauss is a really modern day, clean factory. We wouldn't have had those problems. Had people not tried to rush this through and shove it down our throat and just basically say, because you are in a community that is underemployed, in some cases, people try to refer to my community as impoverished, you all should just take whatever we give you and don't have any input or any say about what comes in your neighborhood. That's unacceptable to me. I don't know any community that wouldn't voice or want a voice about what goes on. So that was why I was in opposition to the plan moving forward without the community having more voice. I never said I was completely against the project, but I wanted our community to fully understand what we were getting.
Understandable. So you have been known for taking your voice to the airwaves and educating the masses on a lot of different issues, because honestly, it's hard to keep up, especially when you deal with a lot of the side conversations like you just explained, this whole deal and the other side of it. Sometimes people don't have access to that information. So you're known for doing that. You also use the social media platform to continue to educate folks on the issues. Talk about why it is so important for you to break things down for everyone who lives in the community to understand what's going on.
So, and literally, much like you in one regard, without the journalism degree, I have been someone that has been involved in some form of media for as long as I can remember. A frequent caller to local talk radio, and a lot of people got to know me over the years, and I called everybody. I called Eric Vaughn when he was still with us over at 1290. I called Mark Belling. I would call shows and weigh in on it. Even Rush Limbaugh, God help me. I would call everybody and weigh in on the issues of the day. And so over the years, people got to know me, ended up being invited in by Eric Vaughn. One thing led to another, and ultimately I began to substitute for talk radio hosts locally on Black Talk Radio. And through a series of things that happened, ultimately landed not one, but two shows, a morning drive show and an afternoon show. And thank God I work for a legislator in terms of Senator Taylor. I'm the chief of staff, I'm an executive. I get to set my own hours. And the senator was willing to give me the flexibility to do these programs because she and I both thought it was so important for our community to get information and to have someone that was willing to take the time to break this down in bite-sized bits so that lay people understood some of the complex issues that we were grappling with every day, whether it was in the state capitol, but my show was politics and current affairs. So I talked about everything under the sun. And one of the things that you began to realize is that the community is not as uninformed as most people think. They may not understand every nuance of every issue, but there were people that, when I would bring a topic up, they would dive right in. And, there were questions that they would have, but people were craving information. And the more information you have, the better armed you are to advocate for yourself. So the biggest goal for wanting to be someone who is a conduit of information is to empower my community to be able to speak up for themselves and to understand, when you're being sold a bill of goods and how to get what you need.
Yes, and before we run out of time, definitely want to give you the opportunity to talk about the issues that you are most concerned with that you would like to contend with in Madison if elected.
Right now, the George Floyd situation has made a lot of people think about social justice issues, elections, the way we police. And one of the stark differences between myself and the young woman that is the incumbent in the position right now is mandatory minimums. When the entire country is moving to a position where they have said that mandatory minimums, our correction systems cost too much, unsustainable, and that we are taking away discretion from judges to be able to look at someone's total past, total history, and make decisions about sentencing that fit that person's unique life circumstance. So I'm extremely passionate and have worked with Senator Taylor over the years on and visiting every correctional facility, talking to judges, lawyers, anyone that had a voice, parents of folks that have been incarcerated, about how we fix our correction system. The other things real quickly is the lead lateral situation in Milwaukee has driven me off the cliff. The fact that it has been 16 years in and we are still not even at 10% of repairing the nearly 70,000 lead laterals that we are contending with, and that our children continue to drink water in older homes that is not fit or they shouldn't be drinking, is problematic to me. Education is a priority. Making sure that we are retrofitting our workers to compete, and whether or not manufacturing ever comes back in the way we have traditionally known it, what are we doing to make sure that we have a workforce that is competitive and that we can deal with issues like shared revenue and how we finance critical services in our state. And the only thing I'll say is that I've had the benefit of working on policy issues, not in a bubble, but literally in the legislature, in the Capitol, alongside other legislators and their staffs for a number of years. So I come into this, when people literally talk about ready to hit the ground and running, I'm already running. I'm already doing work. I just don't have the title. So those are the things I care about.
Okay, and really as we wrap up, being that we're still in the middle of COVID-19, it's been revealed there are a long list of disparities that affect Black and Brown people across the board. So do you agree with the state's approach to dealing with this pandemic, specifically when we look at the unemployment numbers and the reopening of the economy, and really the approach to healthcare once we get past this, praying and fingers crossed, this pandemic?
One of the things that I have said, because in a number of questionnaires connected to me running for office, people have said, Michelle, how do you think the state has handled the crisis today? First of all, with a new administration and a lot of people that are in positions that have never faced some of these challenges, I think folks were trying to do the best they could. But I also need to be candid in that this is when we start paying attention to making sure that people's skill sets match the jobs that we give them, because you want to be as prepared as possible when a crisis strikes. That being said, I have been extremely frustrated, although I understand the challenges that the state and the administration has faced dealing with something like unemployment. But when we have more than 140,000 residents who still don't have a answer or closure, or who have not received a single penny since March of this year, that's unacceptable to me. when we talk about right now, there are folks that work for educational institutions. And about 5 weeks ago, their unemployment stopped coming. And it was because we need to figure out if you're a 10-month employee or 12-month employee. For 5 weeks, these people are now not getting money. And so I have not been fully satisfied with everything that we've done. But, I'm going to say what everybody else says because I do believe it. It's a unique situation. We are learning on the job. And I think that most people show up every day trying to do the right thing. Our systems are outdated. We've heard that. I know that an additional several hundred people were deployed to help. So we're figuring it out, whether or not we opened or not. I think that is one thing that the governor and his team did really well. They were really methodical and they listened to the science about how to reopen. And I respect that. The different municipalities that wanted to do it their own way after the court order, and we lost the court case in the Supreme Court to lift the stay so we wouldn't do a step and say. It is what it is. But I think that, we've done as well as we can under the circumstances.
Under the circumstances. Michelle, thank you so much for stopping by and giving our viewers an opportunity to know more about you and where you stand on the issues. All the best to you.
Thank you, Andrea. You have a good day.
Yes, Michelle Bryant is a candidate for Wisconsin State Senate 6th Senate District. You can find out more about her and where she stands on the issues at Michelle Bryant, 4us.com. And don't forget, the primary elections are coming up on Tuesday, August 11th, and the fall general election is on Tuesday, November 3rd. For more information on anything dealing with the elections, you can go to milwaukee.gov or visit vote411.org to learn more about the candidates on the ballot and where they stand. That is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, I thank you for watching, and I hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues, Milwaukee. Have a great day.